feeling so small. Watch the clock ticking off the wall. But tonight I'm letting it go. Spend my coin for sure. I'm gonna be myself, or I could be someone else. No one's stopping me now.
Hi everyone, welcome. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Celestial Chris Tarot. So for this video, we're going to discuss what happened in the state of Virginia and New Jersey governor race. We're going to kind of look at very deeply what had occurred, as the result has been different than what we anticipated just a few days ago. I find it very interesting to see, because I was watching the race very closely. I was actually, believe it or not concerned at all based on what the tarot cards have showed me. But based on my thumbnail, because a lot of my thumbnails, if you had not noticed, I have actually put a little bit closer results than what the tarot cards have said. So that's my intuition, more so on the thumbnails rather than what is physical today. So I did notice that I did make a mistake when talking about the prediction for Virginia's governor race. So let's take a look at that now. I'll show you where I went wrong. As you see on your screen right now, this is the video that I released on October 29th. So basically how this is going to work is we're going to determine the Virginia election results based on who is going to win. So we have the Democratic Party here in blue, and we also have the Republican Party in red. So whatever shows up in this deck first is the party that's going to win in Virginia governor race come November 2nd or 3rd, whenever they're voting. Who be Virginia's governor? Who be Virginia's governor? Who be Virginia's governor? Okay. It will be a Democrat. Apparently, I was supposed to take it from the deck itself, but the whole deck flipped over and it was blue. So I'm going to go with the next Virginia governor is going to be a Democrat. Terry McAuliffe will win the governor race in Virginia. Oops. So what basically ended up happening is when the cards flipped, the blues showed up, right? But if you go through the deck from the back, and I should have turned it back on, like, you know, where the blue card faced me, I should have flipped the deck back and took the whatever the card came first. Actually, red showed up. So I was wrong. I was on human error. So I was wrong in both the prediction and the human error. However, when it came to the New Jersey governor's race, I'm not sure if I will or will not be right. My goal here is not to be right, but to just give you a sense of calmness. I do want to quickly say out now that I am apologizing for what had occurred and giving you a false sense of security in thinking that the Democrat will win in Virginia. So let's take a look at the New Jersey's race, and then we'll dive into today's video. Basically, how we're going to do this is we have the Democratic Party represented here in blue, and we have the Republican Party represented here in red. And so basically what we're going to do is we're going to put the cards back in my homemade tarot deck, and whatever comes first, we're going to know who will be the victorious in the New Jersey governor race on November 2nd and November 3rd. As you clearly see here, we have the Democrats winning in New Jersey governor's race in 2021. You can see here it's a little bit closer as the Republicans are just behind the Democrats, but nonetheless, the Democrats will win the governor's race in New Jersey. So if you see there, we talked about it, but you can clearly see in the deck when they're discussing about New Jersey, the Republicans were very close behind when it came to the Democrats. When I was using this deck before the 2020 election, it kept showing me a Democratic victory both in Georgia, the House, and of course the Senate, along with the White House. So I'm kind of shocked myself, as the cards did not show me that there was going to be a Republican victory, particularly in the state of Virginia. I kind of find that pretty surprising. Thank you, Paul. I'm glad you guys love the background. Hi, Diva. Hi, Peggy. Is it possible that the future can change at some point with different influences and circumstances? We can dive into that. I think that would be a very good question to discuss today. This is being live streamed on November 3rd, 2021 at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If someone could claim for me whether or not we just went through a time change, because everything here is set to an hour back and I can't figure out what happened. So if someone can confirm that, thank you. That'll be great. And here are some quick disclaimers so I don't get penalized by YouTube. All right. So we have a lot of questions to get through today. So I'm just going to quickly tell you what we're going to be talking about in today's video. We're going to be discussing what particularly happened in the state of Virginia. We'll be looking at what happened in the state of New Jersey as that has become very competitive. We're going to look at what does the results mean for the Democrats leading into the 2022 midterm election. Will the Washington Democrats change their campaign style to policy, then just keep going with the anti-Trump type rhetoric? And will Nancy Pelosi cause Democrats to lose in 2022? She said the Democratic Party will not change their agenda. So we're going to take a look at that as well. I'm going to show you specific data that I have taken since I started doing this. So I think you will find this very enlightening, so to speak. So I think you guys will like the data that I have collected. So you see on your screen here, this is the vote in the state of Virginia. You see here that what propelled Youngkin to victory was that he got 60% of election day voters, and that acquired to 51% of the election day vote, which means that out of 51, only 48% voted for McAuliffe, causing him to lose the state. He probably needed, just to narrow the square by, he probably needed at least 50% in order to at least maintain his seat as governor. But you see here, McAuliffe was leading very narrowly in early vote, but he did astoundingly very well when it comes to early mail-in votes by almost 76%, which only equates to 9% of the overall results. Now, when it comes to the state of New Jersey, for the governor election results of 2022, you can kind of see here that the election had not been called. We see here the Republican candidate, Centrelli, as leading an election day vote by almost the same margin as Virginia, but Murphy is underperforming McAuliffe with 41%. We have here early mail-in vote. We have here Murphy doing astoundingly well, a lot better than McAuliffe. But when it comes to early in-person vote, it's so competitive between the two. You see here the results between the two candidates. Phil Murphy currently leads as of right now with 49.9% of the overall vote to Jackson Kelly, 49.3% of the popular vote. The reason why this is so significant and such an embarrassment on the Democratic Party will be because Phil Murphy was campaigning in the state of New Jersey, while Jackson Shelley, what he would end up doing was that he only paid for overall for a campaign $150 he donated to the campaign. That's it. That's how much he spent overall on the campaign. And he only used Facebook ads, only paid $150 for a campaign. And right now he's almost about to unseat an incumbent Democrat governor for governorship. So that tells you how badly the Democrats are performing both in the state of Virginia and New Jersey. New Jersey was a surprise, but I'm not that surprised if you really look at my my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel kind of swings with the way the country's going. So, for example, I covered Virginia and New Jersey. If you look at all those videos, you can see that the view count is not as high as every other video around it. The reason for that is that it's not energized, which should tell you enough that people don't care about those type of things. They don't realize, they think that, oh, Joe Biden won the state by 10%, but then it goes to a Republican. The reason for that is because you didn't show out and vote. For those of you who did, thank you all for coming. I really do appreciate you guys for voting. That is very important. That is your duty. Doesn't matter who you voted for, but as long as you voted, that's crucial. So I hope that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea where the Democrats currently stand. Now, going to the data, when I talk about my data, we're going to talk about the 2022 midterm, because Virginia is the bellwether. It determines the way Virginia goes, the way the midterm goes. So as of right now, we have here in this is the House of Representatives. This is the tarot cards. The last 2 months, starting September into October, We are projecting a Republican victory as of now. If the election was held today, the Republicans would take back the House of Representatives. You can kind of see that here as well. Now, when it comes to the Senate in 2022, we have here a little bit more competitive. It'll lean narrowly to the Democratic Party for keeping the Senate. But the past 2 months, we have September and October also going in favor of the Republican Party. This should tell you just enough how poorly the Democrats are doing when it comes to statewide races, which is going to be very crucial come 2022. Yeah, the sad fact is that Democratic voters historically don't turn out in off-year's election. That is exactly true. However, in the state of Virginia, they have acquired about 3 million votes, which is in Virginia in 2017, only 2.6 million voters came out in Virginia. This time, even though there were more voters, there wasn't enough on the Biden side to actually do that. What main part is that Biden administration had not campaigned on what critical race theory is. A lot of parents don't know what critical race theory is. Terry McAuliffe campaigned on that Youngkin was another Trump if they elected him, while Youngkin was talking policy in the state of Virginia. Even when it was a lie about education, Youngkin was still talking policy, and therefore policy won. The Democrats need to talk policy, and if they want to win. You think the clock moved back? Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Make sure to vote in elections to make sure my voice is heard. Yes, please vote. My parents stopped me from voting yesterday, so I wasn't able to. But anyway, let's talk about the question today. Let's jump in. So let's talk about what happened in the state of Virginia. Let's kind of get deeply into it. Okay, so Spears Santos, Tommy, what happened in the state of Virginia? Okay, so these are the election day votes. This is how people are feeling in the state of Virginia. Hi, Joanne. Yes, Diva. People will think that everything's okay with the Democratic Party in charge. Yes. Okay, so we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 of Pentacles reversed. We have low voter turnout on the Democratic Party side. That's what happened. There was not enough support on the Democrats. It makes sense because Bill Biden is heavily disapproved of in the state of Virginia. He's only hovering around 43% overall nationwide, just around what Donald Trump was 4 years ago. So it does feel like Joe Biden is as unpopular as Donald Trump. We have here as well, we have the Queen of Swords reversed. And this is the Democratic Party. We know the Democrats did not win. This is the card that represents the Democrats. We have a reverse victory. The Democrats did not win. And we have a concession. It's that the Democrats handed over to Youngkin, which is this new candidate. What this race was really about when it came down to it was that the establishment versus the outsider, right? We have this young male, doesn't typically wear long dresses or long outfits. It's not what the traditional. He's a new candidate, a new face, new energy. That's why the Virginia voters voted in favor of the Republican Party. Right? That is what I'm seeing here. Yes, you did hear me right, correctly, Diva. So that is what I'm sensing here, that although there was going to be an upset, there might be a couple more upsets in the state of Virginia. Virginia is not a reliable Democratic state, particularly because it still holds on to that root of swing state status. That's what it's holding on to. That's why I'm sensing here that Virginia is still very well a swing state. And it almost feels like in some way or some form that if the Democrats don't get a hold of this and don't treat Virginia the way that if they start treating Virginia the way that they treated Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, Virginia will go red the way they went red. And I do see that here in this case as well, that Republicans do have a chance at victory come the next election in the state of Virginia. I do see what ended up happening is that the Democrats concede too consistently and that they were unable to produce policy reform. Is there anything else that we need to know about what happened in the governor race in Virginia? The Virginia governor race also allows the Republicans to take back the House of Delegates. the lieutenant governorship, and of course, attorney general in Virginia. So it's all Republican. They almost had a complete trifecta tonight. Well, last night. We have here the world stage. So the way that Virginia goes is the way the country's going. So right now it feels as if Virginia is leading the way for the Republican Party into victory come the next year, whereas the Democrats are being led into a major upset come the next election. Yeah, I will have to figure out how to do absentee. Oh, actually, New York, I don't believe they do absentee or mail-in vote. You need a valuable excuse, which I don't think I qualify for. What happened in the state of New Jersey? So we're gonna take quickly before we do take a look at what happened in the state of New Jersey. We're gonna take a look at who's gonna win. So whatever color shows up first, whether it's red or blue, is the one who's gonna be the winner. Okay, so we have red and blue here. We're gonna keep going until we see a red or a blue. Okay, so we have red in the lead. So it kind of feels like what's happening here. We have the red and the blue tied. They're both even. We have here is that the red are down narrowly. Then we have here the blue is up. Then we have the red is up because the red is higher than the blue. We have here the incumbent will not be defeated, and the Republican runs off or leaves. So now this could be two different things. Now it could mean that the Republican heads to victory or they flee the scene as in a loss. That's really up to the state of New Jersey. It feels like New Jersey's up for grabs still. I don't see a definitive answer as of now, but I do feel like there are two possibilities the way that could possibly go. All right, so Spears and Angel, tell me what happened in the state of New Jersey governorship. I know there was a lack of energy on the Democratic side. Basically, the Republicans were able to take a state that Biden won by 16% and turn it into a completely hotly contested race. That means the state swung 16% in favor of the Republican, and the state of Virginia swung 11% in favor of the Republican. Okay, so we have here the Democrats. The Democrats are not doing what the people have elected them to do. And a lot of Democrats, in terms of those who disapprove of Biden and disapprove of the party, what ended up occurring is that, so what ended up happening, what ended up happening was that this election, the 2020 election, was all about policy, getting rid of Trump and doing what people want, the stimulus check, getting the country back on track, the economy, healthcare, all those things. Those things are right now being held up by Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin. However, they're not to be blamed, right? Because they live in both very conservative states, particularly Kyrsten Sinema. You could blame her more so than Joe Manchin. We have here, what this is telling me here, that it's all policy-based. However, they felt like they've been lied to from the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party is not as enthusiastic about fighting for the people than a Republican. So, for example, let me explain this in a more better way of you understanding. So, for the Republican Party, we all know them talking about election fraud and voting rights and stuff like that. We know that that's an issue for the Republican Party. The difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is that the Republican Party are making it appear that they're fighting to get the people's voices heard, even though there is no proof. They're fighting, so to speak. And so the Republicans here and say, well, if I elect that Republican, they're going to fight for me. But I don't see the same energy on the Democratic Party side fighting for voting rights or any of those issues. The problem is that they're not campaigning. They're not making Joe Manchin look bad or Kyrsten Sinema or calling these people out the way that the Republicans are doing within their own party. Right? The Republicans are calling them out, and that is what I'm sensing here, that the Democrats have a lot to lose. Well, what ended up happening, Joanne, the Democrats, Obama even came to help. What ended up happening here in the state of Virginia was that Obama came out to help sort of Joe Biden, but those made it look at Terry McAuliffe and Phil Murphy as an establishment Democrat, not the fighter for the people. And therefore, that turned off a lot of independents, which is very bad. We have here, as well as we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of stories here. We have mental conflict. I feel like people are so confused with the Democratic Party that they don't know if they can trust them. They don't know if the Democratic Party is really representing them or just representing the interest and just trying to grab the people's votes. What it feels like to me right now, the energy that feels for the Democratic Party is the wolf, the boy who cried wolf. That is what I'm feeling about the Democratic Party. Right? We have here justice, Republicans, right? I talked about this before, that the reason why the Republicans are doing so well right now is because they're fighting for the people, so to speak, their people, right? They're getting the justice that they want. Even if the justice is not there, they're still making it look like that. The Democratic Party is not. And that's why the justice card is reversed. I mean, the justice card is upright. We have here the Knight of Swords. You see here underneath this, we have the Republican Party app. The Democratic Party had almost like, in some way or some form, conceded what they've been fighting for in the 2020 election. People are upset about the way that they handle police and the way that they handle defund the police and all those type of rhetoric, that it had damaged the Democratic Party, particularly when it comes to voters, turning them off. We have here the Democratic Party has refused to fight for those core values in 2020, and therefore people are seeing that. Voters are seeing that. I don't see, if this was to be pulled out to a Phil Murphy victory, I don't see that that's something you should be celebrating. It does not look like that's a celebration that should be happening here. I do see that there is a possibility for a Republican to win. I do see more right now of a Republican victory in the state of New Jersey than a Democratic one. However, the Democrats may have enough votes to win it, but nonetheless, I don't feel like Phil Murphy is going to be seen, particularly the Democrats as a whole, will be seen as the party that can win the popular vote. I do feel like in some way or some form, the Democrats are going to perform very poorly if they don't get their crap together. They have 1 year to do this. They wasted one already. They're 1 year. I don't see the Democrats doing very well. And the title cards show that. What does the results mean for the Democrats in the 2022 midterm election? Spirit Angel, tell me, what does this mean? Okay, so the words that I heard from the Democratic Party when asking what does it mean for the Democrats leading to the 2022 election results, I'm sensing here that they are going, there's ignorance here. That's what's occurring, there's ignorance. We have here, they should know the Republicans are not putting people first. People need to grow up and stop expecting 1 man in 10 months to change 4 years of a disastrous president. That is correct. However, the Democrats are not campaigning. The reason for President Biden's loss, President Obama's loss in 2010 and 2014 midterm results was because he didn't campaign and get people to realize what his policies were about. So therefore, people resorted to the media and what the media was telling them what the package stands for and what it means. So that their idea of healthcare was formulated around politicians describing what the policy is, but the policy isn't that. They're just trying to talk themselves up so that they could win. Same thing with Biden. Biden's not talking his policy up. Therefore, people are relying heavily on the media and people who they think they trust and know to give them the information that they desire. Biden needs to speak up. That's where Biden's fault is. So nobody expects Biden to fix 4 years of President Trump, but everybody expects Biden to talk policy. He's not talking policy. Or maybe he is, but maybe other Democrats are not, and that's dangerous. So what does the results mean for Democrats in the 2022 midterm election? What I see here is a major loss. I see Nancy Pelosi losing. This is where Nancy Pelosi caught. I do see that the vaccine rollout and the misinformation that has been spread about it has made the Democrats look as if they were unreliable upon Democratic Party, because particularly Democrats, when it comes to not allowing misinformation to spread as rapidly as it had did. I do feel like that's the fault of the Democratic Party, and therefore people are going to blame the Democrats for that. However, on the other side, the Republican side is going to be heavily energized when it comes to the vaccine rollout and the misinformation that was spread there. So meaning that this is a triple loss for the Democratic Party, that not only can they not gain votes among Republicans, they're actually going to lose votes among their own base. Right? We have the chariot. The Democrats were leading. They were expected to carry the midterm. They were actually expected for the first time to defy historical trends and win the 2022 midterms. I don't see that here. I don't see another victory for the incumbent president, Joe Biden. I do see a Democratic loss here. We have the 10 of cups reversed. I don't see it going to be as similar, as close as it was in 2020. I do expect the Republicans to do very well in the next year's midterm. I'm expecting around 230 or bigger, even 245. I'm seeing 260. So I do see the Republicans doing extremely well in the next election. We have here ignorance is at the forefront of the Democratic Party right now. Maybe not with all Democrats, but I am sensing here that here's the Republican Party crossing their hands like, like the Republicans here are ignorant, right? But they're like, well, the people, my supporters, think that I'm fighting for them. Shame on them, fool on them, but they don't need to know that. And here are my supporters. They're going to come out, they're going to vote for us. Doesn't matter what our policy stands for, they're going to do what we tell them to do. The Democratic Party don't have that. Right now, the Republican Party have the enthusiasm on their side. Put 4 weeks back. She needs to do more than that. Yeah, defunding the police also hurting the Democrats. What ended up happening with defunding the police was that the Democratic Party started talking about like reforming the police. Reform word, actually, believe it or not, actually does a better job and better approval than defund the police. The reason for that is reform does not indicate that you're going to remove it. It just said that you are going to enhance it and give more better quality of life, particularly when it comes to police. However, using the word defund makes it appear as if you're going to remove police off the streets, making it unsafe for all of us to go out and about. So that's the idea here, that the Democratic Party is not necessarily the policy behind it, but it's the wording and the messaging that is used, the way they described it. It should have used a better word. Okay, so that is what's happened. I see a Democratic loss in both the Senate and the House. So now, will the Washington Democrats change their campaign style to policy-based or just anti-Trump rhetoric? We know anti-Trump rhetoric does not work anymore. It's like having the boy who cried wolf so many times eventually gets old. People stop voting out of fear. So what I'm sensing here is that that's going to end up not doing very well. So the Democrats need to talk policy. Will the Washington Democrats change their campaign style to policy-based or just keep the anti-Trump rhetoric? Because we all know that's what Terry McAuliffe did, and because of that, it cost him the election. Because he didn't talk about localized issues within the state of Virginia. He talked about national issues. He nationalized the race, while Youngkin kept it localized. Even though it was very nationwide in terms of Youngkin campaign, he made it appear as if he was somebody who didn't care about what Donald Trump was doing. And because of that, that helped him. Okay, so this is interesting. So here are the Democrats, right? The Democrats up on an uphill battle. They have almost 50-50 in both the Senate and the House of Representatives. So there's not much that they can get done. However, the Democrats could have won had they just talked about what they plan to do and what they want to do and almost like market and sell their products, like almost like a businessman. They need to sell what they're giving to people. Like sell the medicine. You got to figure out how. That's what they needed to do. However, time has passed. This is showing the fool card. Right? The Democrats are a fool for thinking that, enough people are going to want to vote against Trump. Yes, only when Trump is on the ballot. Trump is not on the ballot. And because Trump was not on the ballot, it cost a lot of Democrats their votes. They underperformed. Like the Democrats and the Republicans, they overperform in high cities and suburban areas, right? We have the page of swords reversed. This is the vaccine rollout. People felt that in some way or some form that the way the vaccine rollout is going is not going in the favor of the Democratic Party. The Democrats may be like this glorious party that enhances and voices for the people and the health and welfare of this nation, but they're not talking policy beyond it. They're not talking about healthcare. They're not talking about this is the reason why we need these things. They're just doing it just for political leverage, but they're not doing anything about it. This is an opportunity for the Democrats, and that's what I'm seeing here, but they're not seizing it. And therefore, this would be a big strength. Talking about healthcare would be a major strength. People will support that. They will have more support talking about healthcare than Obama did when he first started in 2009 or 2008. That's just what this is about. If the Democrats talk policy on healthcare, they will win the midterms. They will win if they talk healthcare. But the thing is, I see here big pharmaceutical companies are going to challenge it. I do see that there's going to be a major challenge. And I feel like this challenge is going to come from conservative Democrats such as Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, who are paid by pharmaceutical companies. And therefore, the policy is going to crash. But the only thing that they can do is they have to make it so popular that any senator or any representative that goes against it will automatically be ousted by their own voters. They have to make this thing popular. That's the only way. Use the people against the senator's interest. That's how you win. That's how you win an election, by using the people. Then the last one that we're going to look at is will Nancy Pelosi cause Democrats to lose in 2022? She said the Democratic Party will not change their agenda. This just came out like 5 minutes ago. Well, before the video started, Nancy Pelosi results and comments on Youngkin election win. Youngkin scared the crap out of moderates and conservatives, white voters, by telling them that if they vote McCollum, all the schools will start teaching critical race theory and outright untruth. That is true. 100%. No, actually, I think she said that they're already teaching it, that Youngkin was going to remove it. So that's, you see, what the reason why this is such a good campaign strategy, even though it's very cool, a really good one, because think about it, he doesn't need to do anything because it's not being taught in school, right? So that's an automatic victory for him to keep these voters. I feel this is right. I feel like this right is just a bummer. When will the Democrats wake up? Maybe we do need a new third party. We do, for sure. Definitely, we do need that. Okay, so let's see. Will Nancy Pelosi cause the Democrats to lose in 2022 midterm? Oh, okay. Yep, she's going to cause them to lose. So the way, if Nancy Pelosi, although no matter how good she is of a politician, it feels as if no matter what she does, she's going to cause them to lose because she thinks that within her best interest. The thing is, the electorate is not the way that she grew up knowing. The electorate is so different now. We have the tower card, right? An upset. It had occurred in both the state of Virginia and New Jersey. Regardless of how you look at it, it's an upset. But that's in the past. We have here the election day card, uncontested, is contested, meaning that it can go either way, right? We don't know what way it's going to go. But we have here, I see power being handed over, the Ace of Pentacles, the Nancy Pelosi handing the power, handing the gavel to the person next in charge, and it's going to be the Republicans. I do see that it may not be Mitch McConnell or Kevin McCarthy, but it sure as hell going to be a Republican. I do see that as long as Nancy Pelosi is leading the Democratic Party instead of Joe Biden, she will lead them to failure in the 2022 midterm election. That is what I'm sensing here. That is what I see. I do see a Democratic loss. So now let's go to a question that was submitted by Paula. I think it was a good question that we should all talk about today. I think it will be really good. Is it possible that our future can change at some point with different influences and circumstances? Yes, absolutely. There are many ways that it could happen. I'm going to quickly go over them. So one way that it could possibly happen is one future that can change with different outcomes or influences There's a few things I can tell you them for sure that they exist. One thing is that the energy changes. So just say the reason why I read on the midterm, I do it monthly, is that things change as time goes on. But what it allows us to see is how the electorate is changing and viewing based on the government at the time that everything took place. So, for example, I just covered the midterm election result, and what I have seen is that everything up until October when I did that video, all the energy was in that video. But the next video in November could be all Democratic. It could change as month goes on. But I do see as of right now the trends are in favor of the Republican. Now, is it possible for the future to change at some time? Yes. So, for example, in our reality, I'm going to talk about them in another video. But in our reality, we have what known as light years. And light years allow people to be able to create different realities within our own spectrum. For example, I call them the flower effect. We have the big bulb in the center, right, in the middle of the flower. That is our reality. But each petal is a version of the flower, what's in the middle. And in that middle, each petal represents a different outcome. One thing changes in each outcome that causes a different timeline, different frame. And as each one and each petal that goes further out from the center of the core is going to be more drastically different than the ones that are very close to around the circle. So at some point, we're going to see in another reality or a different timeline where the Democrats win. The question is that when tarot cards read, they are accessing multiple different realities and trying to figure out, okay, so with this reality that we're in right now, what one will we enter? That's why tarot cards are almost 75 to 85% chance correct. But it's the interpreter who's always wrong. So the tarot cards are more accurate than the actual individual. Like I was at fault for the Virginia prediction, particularly because of my inability to accurately interpret it in the way that it should have been interpreted. I hope that makes a little sense. Yeah, I know it's disappointing. What are you gonna do? Right. All right, guys. I hope you guys like today's video. I'll probably be going live tonight. We're not going to do the Trump will reign, how Trump and reign ends. I don't have enough questions to do the video, so I'm going to postpone it till next week on Friday. So if you have not already, please put your questions in the comment section below for that video. I will add it in to cover it. And we'll be probably talking about Atlantis tonight. Right now, my parents are doing their kitchen, so it's pretty noisy. But other than that, yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys probably tonight. I can't guarantee that, though. But I love you, and I'll see you guys soon as possible. Good night, or good morning, afternoon, whatever. All right, bye.